Hi everybody, welcome to the Stratosphere Lounge. I look a little thin here, so why don't we try this? Or, ha ha ha! And we're back. If you are one of those people who just joined us, you'll notice that the technical quality of the show is, as usual, extraordinary. And I don't think there's any question about extraordinary. We're just gonna go with extraordinary. Let me just put something in for these poor people who are in the waiting room. And that ought to save some things for them here. Hey. It's just too much. It's too much for me. It's too much for me to do. It moves too fast for me, my son. There we go. Come on. I'm gonna kill somebody or something. Hang on, I still don't have it. Where is it? Oh, for the love of God. This shouldn't be this hard. There it is. My God. Alright, is everybody getting things? And you know, I'm just going to go ahead and admit it. I actually do all of this stuff on purpose. I do all of it on purpose. And do you hear songs now too? Let me check on. You should be getting me here. So hopefully you're getting me here now too. There we go. Anyway, it's episode 144. Days like this make me want to just go and crawl back in the hole I came out of. If I didn't have some really good news for you guys, it would be embarrassing, and I'd probably just wrap it up right now and call it a day. Let me just once again put, for those people watching live, just let them know that if they need to hit the refresh button. So, okay, so here we are. What a wonderful start. My goodness, you know, I started the show 10 minutes ago, speaking about something, and no one could hear me. And then we got the mic fixed, and then no one could see me. And then we rebooted it, and now apparently it's working. What I said originally when I got started tonight was that, wow, how about that? We played that Petula Clark song 144 times, and as I was talking, I realized there's no audio. And then I realized 144 times, you know, it's like, how many times does a human being have to practice something before he gets it right? I would have thought that if I was, you know, I don't know, taking flying lessons and I banged the plane up 144 times in a row, it might be an indication to me that maybe flying is not for me. So, yeah, we still have these technical problems, and I'm not going to use the awesome excuse that I do have, which is, right now we've been moving this microphone back and forth between this table and the table that is over there, which some of you hardcore fans may recognize as the set for Billwood Alive, which you've been doing for a couple weeks now. And I have to tell you, I am loving the live show. I'm loving it. I don't know why I like it as much as I do, but I do. It's a busy morning. Yours truly here has been working like a rented mule, which is actually extremely good because it's given me some sense of what I'm actually capable of doing. Echo now, great, swell. Hang on a second. Echo? I don't hear any echo. Hang on. Okay, I should, how about that? Are we echoing now? Are we echoing now? Good God, you know, I've been doing the show, and I'm just going to have to hear what I'm saying here. And by the way, this microphone doesn't have a mute button, so now I have to turn it up and hear what I'm hearing. Hang on. This is going to be hilarious. What do we got? What's coming out here? I just want to go home. I just want to go home.
I've been doing the show, and
yeah.
you have to hear what I'm saying.
It's
and
echoey.
Wait, this microphone doesn't have a mic button, so now I have to turn it
Okay.
and hear what I'm hearing.
What am I doing? I don't know what the matter is. It's just awful.
What am I doing?
Hang on. How's that? How about now? Echo. You still getting that? I'm going to wait until my image appears here because I can't explain this. I turned off the mic and turned it back on again. Let me just do one more check here, and I'll just keep going. You know, you gotta have the right attitude with these things. What about these things?
How about now? Echo. You still getting that? I'm going to wait until my...
I think that's it. I think that's it. You know, you have to have, no matter what you do, thank you very much, Eyes and Fire here. No matter what you do, you got to come to certain realization about things. And one of the things you have to realize is that half of the work you do is below average. And sometimes the work that you're doing is in the bottom, 5 percentile. And to be honest with you, some of the work you do is in the bottom 1 percentile of the work you do. And this is one of those days. So I hope you're all enjoying your big laugh at my expense. Now, just because this thing was such a catastrophe, getting launched here technically, moving back and forth between Wirecast and 2 sets and 1 mic, we're getting a second mic tomorrow. Just because it's been such a catastrophe, I have decided on the spot to go out there and make these guys. Doesn't that taste even more delicious than a Stratosphere lounge mug? And look, it's got a picture of a guy on the back. These are for sale now at the BillWhittle.com store. I think they're $20. We've been waiting for them to do them for about 140 of these 144 episodes. And I'm very happy that we have a chance to do it because I think it's very cool. I didn't do the design. Somebody sent it in. One of you awesome people sent in the design for this thing. And I don't know. I just think it's awesome. And I've got one, and you can order one too. I don't think they deliver until March, though. That's on the website. Over at BillWhittle.com in the store, you'll be able to see your very own Stratosphere Lounge mug. No one should be without it. So now we refresh the picture over here so that we can see the comments, and now the picture's gone. It's just, what do you do? What do you do? Somebody tell me. There they are. Holy cow. Okay, so yes, mugs. Thank you. Congratulations. I think it's probably time for me to admit something here. All the work that I've done for the last 8 or 9 years has been transmitted to me by an extremely small little hearing device that's been implanted in my skull, and all I do is just copy back what people are reading me. And today, the connection broke, and so now you get to see the real me, which you can't put 2 sentences together. Where were we? We were on the live show. Does it come with coffee? Aesop's Retreat wants to know. It does not come with coffee. However, it does come pre-drank from by me. Every single one of these mugs is opened by me, inspected carefully with a jeweler's loupe, and then I pour in crystal clear mountain water, and then I have a sip out of each one, and then the cup gets passed along, and you can, you can cure ingrown toenails with that. That's what you can do. You can cure ingrown toenails. So yeah, we're gonna put these guys out there, and I'll be very happy to not be the only one. And if it turns out that you get your mug and you like it and you want to send in a picture, it would be awesome. I'd love to have a collection of pictures, so we could all see what we each look like. I know that might be breach of security for some of you folks. However, that's what we'll do. So yes, so it's looking good for the mugs. The mugs are here and ready to go. And back to what I was talking about a mere 16 minutes ago when I started this show and thought I was doing my introduction. I have been working like a rented mule, and that means got called out by my friend Foghorn. G-Skid gets a fiance, now can't even speak. He's absolutely right. So anyway, here I am. I got the NRA offer I guess a month and a half ago now, something like that. And I decided, I'll do it. And I think I talked about this last time. So I had to be in the chair every day, 5 days a week at 10 o'clock Pacific. It's not that that's that early, it's just that consistent, that regular. I just didn't know if I could do it. So I've been doing it. And I've done 3 weeks of it now, a month. I guess it's a month, actually, come to think of it. 5 times a week for a month with Grant Snitchfield, and we are having ourselves a heck of a fun time. Grant and I are just absolutely having a blast. And so the NRA thing turned out to be very, very good. Somebody just said in the comment section, BB106 says, autograph on the bottom. Absolutely, I will autograph the bottom. I think we've got some. Silver markers that I use for the DVDs. Let me just make a note because I don't remember my name, which is going to be a problem if I'm going to autograph these things. Excellent idea. Thank you. Okay. So then I thought, okay, we'll do the live show. Fantastic. So we'll do the live show, and that was going really well, and we're starting to pick up that show. Technically, we've got a new producer really here, named Neil. So Neil has been really helping out with moving the files around. We got somebody else editing right angles, which means I'm a lot more free. And what it really came down to is my day now is like I get in here, I prep for the NRA show. I do the NRA show between 10 and 10:10 Pacific time. At 11 Pacific time, we go on the air live, and as soon as that's done, I have to get an article over to Daily Wire by 1. So that gives me a little over an hour. Here's what's remarkable about the Daily Wire thing. It's going to make you guys cry. It makes me want to cry. Hello, Louisiana. Right-wing aviator. I have an aviator shirt. I should have worn it. We'll look for you next time, right-wing aviator. Yeah, so the thing that makes me want to cry is the fact that now that I am sitting here writing an article every day, I realize I could write an afterburner or firewall every day. Yeah, the fan's not going anywhere. That's just not going to go anywhere. It's just you're stuck with it. It's the ventilation, because this room is a deep, deep underground, 75 stories directly beneath Mount Rushmore, and we have to have ventilation or else we just don't make it here. So doing these articles for Daily Wire is, they want 400 words. That usually, so for me, if I aim for 400 words, I usually come out with about 700. But it's been fun, and I thought every one of them was shootable, and I just realized all I really was needing was some structure, and to be honest, and some staff. A month ago, I was doing all of the right angles, and I had been doing them for 7 months or 6 months or whatever. I spent all day, every day working on right angles and trying to get the rest of the stuff out. Then all of a sudden I'm not, and I realized I can write an afterburner, I keep saying afterburner, write a firewall pretty much every day. So I'm going to do something more like that. It's funny what discipline will do for you. Discipline, and it's not really that hard sometimes to acquire. Let's put it this way: if you have a desire to acquire it, you can do it in relatively short time. So yeah, that schedule has been great. Being here every morning is great. Now I need to book another hour of my day and write video stuff. Then we just crank those babies out. That'd be really fun. We have the TP USA videos, which are We the People version 2.0, and we've got a bunch of firewalls left in the head here. So, and those are probably going to keep coming because I don't imagine that these people are going to slow down. So there we go. but it's actually great. It's wonderful. I really love it. I can't believe how much I love it. I can't believe how easy it is to get up in the morning now that I'm on a really regular schedule, and I love the live show. I love it. I just really, really enjoy it. And finally getting the set more or less the way I wanted it to look. There's still some things, we're going to tweak up here and there. We're going to get a new microphone tomorrow, by the way, a black one for the black and blue set, and we'll keep this one here because, as I say, every day I have to unscrew this thing from the desktop and move the swing arm, this gigantic gantry. I have to move it over to that table and tighten it up there and clamp it down there, and by the time you've got all these wires, I got 2 TV cameras over here, but they're not the same, not really webcams, so those have to be pulled and replaced. You get the idea. So it's a bit of a juggle. I'm trying to find out if I might have to do the show at 11:30 instead of 11 Pacific. We have maybe 45 minutes to prepare for it, and it takes Neil probably 10 minutes just to set up the dual streaming thing. By the way, hang on a second. Johnny Quest says he wrote a firewall just now while I was talking. Email it to me, please, Johnny. I'll do it, and I'll get paid for it, and you won't. And you won't get mentioned again either, so that's what you get for your smart alecky remarks. The live show is a kick. We're getting new microphones. Going to have to switch things out less and less, and then things should get a little bit smoother. So, Gavin Carter and Bill have the same mic. Can you believe it? It's a damn good mic, I have to say. It's a Podcaster. It's a USB mic, and it's so much better than either the Yeti or the Rocket mic that was with us for so long. So that'll pretty much, I think. Oh my God, there's mug orders are coming in like crazy. It's should have if I'd known about this, I would have done it in 1979 and put myself through college by selling Stratosphere lounge mugs for the internet, which would be invented 2 decades later. That would have been ahead of the curve. Let's just get this thing over with before it gets ugly. So for episode 144, we stacked up the questions. Nothing particular. I was thinking that maybe I would do like a Donald Trump episode, but everybody's always talking about Trump, and besides, I need theme shows, and usually the best theme show ideas come from you guys. So we'll see about a topic for next week's show. Here we go. Our friend Cheryl Toomey has got the highest ranking question today, and here it is. Let's talk about Betsy DeVos. My colleagues are extremely distraught about her confirmation. Not being shy about my leanings at work anymore, I was told I had no business in special education if I supported her. Cheryl is a teacher, by the way. I'm an educator not only by trade but by vocation. This is what I was called to do. So, am I wrong that I want to see the very institution dismantled that has given me my employment? Are charter schools really a threat to our children's education? And most importantly, why are my colleagues losing their ever-loving minds over Secretary DeVos? They have a term they had a term in Japan for the working people, the generation either right after World War II, that generation of Japanese who worked so hard and took their country from smoking ruins to the second biggest economy in the world in the 80s and 90s. And they had, it's the first time I ever heard the expression anyway, they had an expression called the Iron Rice Bowl. Basically, the idea of the Iron Rice Bowl is that you will be employed for the rest of your life. It's steady, it's stable, it's not going anywhere. You can depend on this salary until you die, and your retirement too. So, ghosts in the machine. So, Cheryl, I think the first part of your question is simply that DeVos looks like she's going to come in and on behalf of the Donald, smash up the Iron Rice Bowl, which is the best possible thing that could happen. The part about this so heartbreaking is when you say, do you want to see the institution dismantled that has given me my employment? The institution that they're trying to dismantle is not the one that you signed up for. The institution that they're trying to dismantle has got nothing to do with education. The institution that they're talking about dismantling is it's like the brain blob in that Star Trek episode where the thing lands on the back of Spock's neck. It's just flying jellyfish and just puts its tendrils into his mind and controls him through pain. That's really what basically happened. It's the teachers' unions LA Unified School District here in LA Unified, where I live, is probably the worst offender in this regard. So somewhere along the line, Cheryl, and the rest of you, miscreants and deplorables, somewhere along the line, teachers' unions stopped being about getting teachers adequate pay so that they could do good work, and became about making sure that no one ever got fired ever, and the teachers' unions are the people who are providing the iron rice bowl, and a lot of people like security. You know, I have had many personal friends, one or two of whom have just come out and said to me, I would rather have things taken care of for me. You know, he was in the military. I'm not accusing everybody in the military of this at all, but he said to me, I really liked it when I was in the Air Force because I had, you know, I knew where I had to be, I knew what I was going to wear, I knew when dinner was going to be, I knew where my house was going to be, and all that. And he just really liked the structure of it, and the fact that he could count on this for a long time. And what this people's reaction is, Cheryl, is they're having a visceral, emotional reaction to DeVos, because on some level, consciously or subconsciously, they believe that that's the end of their jobs, which means the end of their money, which means starvation for themselves and their family. That's how things work these days. We always ramp it up. There's a whole discussion to be had, and I'm going to resist the temptation to do it now, about how worry is essentially just sort of a built-in mechanism, and that when you don't have things like panthers to worry about, then you start worrying about panther cubs, and when there aren't those to worry about, then you start worrying about the Carolina Panthers, and down you go. So basically the theory is you have to keep your body's designed and your mind is designed for a certain level of worry, and anything, you're supposed to worry about big things, but if there's nothing big to worry about, then you'll bring little things up to the point where you do. So a lot of people have that dynamic going on in their head. Now Donald Trump is in office, and it's the end of the world. It's going to be my job, and my children are going to starve, and all the rest of it. It's interesting watching this from the other side. Interesting is an understatement. Watching from the other side what happened to us in 2008. Just watching them react the way we did in 2008. The difference, primarily, of course, is that we're not smashing windows, and we're not burning cars, and we're not rioting in the streets. We had protests, lots of protests. I don't think they're going to match the Tea Party at its prime, but if they do, it'll be wonderful to see the difference between a Tea Party protest and one of these left-wing protests. They're violent, and they're kind of scary, and that's why they project it on us. But back to your problem here, Cheryl. I really have to hand it to Donald Trump. I really do. Some journalist a couple weeks ago basically said, it seems like all of his appointees are people who are determined to destroy the very institutions that he's making them head of. And the rest of us look around and go, that's exactly correct. I'm trying to be as fair as I can to Donald Trump. I don't want to be overly nasty to him. I don't want to be overly nice to him, but I am just blown away, frankly, by the quality of these people. He's got, and he's getting them. He's getting them, and there's nothing they can do about it. So it's not just the presidency and the Senate and the House. It's the presidency and the Senate and the House and the Supreme Court, and all of these department heads of secretaries of education, energy, secretary of state, all of it. We got all of it. And for some reason, I think maybe the curious nature of Donald Trump means that we didn't really get to celebrate it the way we thought we would. But in any event, we got it all. And he's actually doing it, bless him, he's working like an animal. There's a picture I saw, see all these things online, and it's a picture of Obama standing there on his first day, and there's one paper on his desk, and he's kind of looking at it wistfully, like it's undoubtedly a signature from some holy person somewhere congratulating him on his descent from heaven into the Oval Office. One piece of paper, and then there's next to it is a picture of Donald Trump, and he has like 5 or 6 stacks of paper this high, and he's on the phone. He looks like he's working. I remember saying, I don't think I've ever seen a picture of Barack Obama actually at his desk working, but you get to see pictures of Donald Trump at the desk working all the time. He's there 18 hours a day or something. So I completely agree. it's just wonderful. So yeah, what do you say? So anyway, Cheryl, I know you just keep coming around to this. I'll get to the answer eventually. The reason they're scared is because their security is at risk, and not just their security, but and it's not just their reputations. These public school teachers, it's their identity. They've had to make a decision: are we for the kids or are we for the union? And the conservatives say we're for the union, and so screw them. And that's what you get. The LA Unified School District, I forget what the number is, but it's in the hundreds, if not thousands, of teachers that are employed and continue to be employed, and I'm paying for their employment. And they sit in the teachers' lounge because all 6,000 of them, or whatever the number, have disciplinary actions against them. They should have been fired on the spot, but the union made sure they didn't get fired. So this is how trust and credibility go away. Steve Green did an episode of Right Angle this week talking about the decline in trust. And if you're the news media and you overhype some stories and don't report others, then people will lose trust in you to the point where they no longer believe you. And after that, shortly after that, comes an actual contempt, an actual sneering contempt that you might have the audacity to keep up this charade. And it's the same thing with the teachers union. Somewhere back there, they decided that their benefits were more important than the kids. And I suspect that the kind of people that go into unions and politics, education politics, are different people than the kind of people that go into actually educating children in a classroom. And that's the people who are mostly scared, I suspect. I would be worried, actually, if I was a public school teacher. And the reason I'd be worried if I was a public school teacher is because if they're talking about bringing in competition, then I'd be a little worried. So yeah, they're getting the same shakeup that anybody else who's what it's like, Cheryl. Here's what it's like. If you want to make it really clear for yourself when it's over. I wish I had it. If I had it on me, I'd roll it right now. The 6 or 7 minutes of Alec Baldwin in Glengarry Glen Ross when he comes into the office to fire up this moribund sales staff. That's where the teachers union are today. Hey, you want to be a teacher? You want your school to compete with charter schools? Congratulations, your public school, here's your reward. If your school does better than a charter school, first place is a Cadillac, second place is a set of steak knives, and third place is you're fired. That's basically what's going on. People don't like to have to work harder. Most people don't anyway. I do. I'm actually physically much happier working much harder than I was before, and I was working hard before. So, yeah, they don't like the competition. But look, the meta argument, the big argument is, if you have a Department of Education that's pushing Common Core, just for a moment set aside the indoctrination aspect of Common Core. That's not something to lightly set aside, but just for a moment put it aside. And let's just say that Common Core was going to be applied to every school in the country, and it was the best effort that we could make to educate kids. And that's going to be how we do everything. Well, you have a Department of Education and you have a program. If you don't do this, you have, 300,000 departments of education? 30,000? I can never remember the number of counties in America, but it's the number of counties basically in America. So you have hundreds and thousands of school boards, and each one of them is doing something just a little bit different. And this is what we call the laboratory of ideas. And the smaller you make things, the more local you make things, the quicker the response. If you're not happy with the public schools in your neighborhood and you have to basically walk it up to the Department of Education in Washington, that's going to take a bit of a time. Anybody who's ever had to deal with the FAA, if you needed something non-standard, you can pretty much expect to wait 6 months, that kind of thing. It is what it is. It's just horrible. It's awful. But the one thing I think is beyond question, Cheryl, is this: the more money we spend, the worse our students do. That's not necessarily causality, it might just be a correlation, but the more money we spend, the worse the kids do. So every time they call in and say we need more money, they're failing because we don't have enough money. You're spending 3 or 4 times on American students what you're spending on the next closest benefits package, whatever that country is. And 3 or 4 times as much, not 30% more, 300% more than the next closest country in terms of expense per student. And our schools get worse and worse and worse. 6%, 7% of Baltimore kids can read at the grade level that they're biologically in. So Donald Trump has thrown a wrench into the gears of just pretty much every one of these big institutions. He's made EPA head, a guy who's like kind of a big oil guy, and he's made Department of Education as a charter school person, and on and on and on it goes. It's just glorious. They went from this absolute complete wimp of a defense secretary to Mad Dog Mattis. I mean, I just frankly don't know how you could do better than this. I really don't. I don't know what it would look like if you did better than this in terms of your appointees and so on. And now the Democrats getting a little taste of their own medicine because they've been governing this country for the last 8 years as if they'd never lose another election, concentrating all this power. Harry Reid wants a bill passed, so after all these years of tradition, he uses the nuclear option, and we should use it right back on him and get these judges done. We got the judges. We got one Supreme Court judge for sure. I'd be astonished if Ginsburg lasts the first 4 years of Donald Trump's term. She won't last the second 4, that's for sure, and that's the way things are heading right now. So we'll get one justice. That'll put us back to, generally speaking, 5 to 4. We're likely to get 2. They're going to howl about this Justice Gorsuch, but if Ginsburg retires and a big conservative is put in place of Ginsburg, they're going to have a cow, because they're going to know that they no longer get to run the country through just 9 people instead of through 535. Anyway, that's pretty much a 40-minute answer for you, Cheryl. It's a pretty simple question. They're scared because competition is coming. They're scared because everything's about to change. They're scared because they know they're going to have to work harder. They're scared because they tell themselves this story about Cheeto Hitler, and they're going to find out their worldview is going to collide with reality, and sooner rather than later they'll be happier. And if they're not, then without question the students will be happier. Okay, moving on. Merlin Wendelboe. I can't say Merlin Wendelboe without commenting on what an awesome name that is, Merlin Wendelboe. If in fact that is your real name, Mr. Merlin Bat Guano. Here we go. So recently I have listened to a few videos by Dave Rubin, a self-proclaimed liberal who, from what I can tell, sounds indistinguishable from a conservative and has been highly critical of the nut jobs that we call liberals. And he's not alone. Many liberals are jumping ship, but not quite willing to identify as conservative, even though they say what we say and claim to believe in what we believe. How do we get them to climb on board? It's a great question, Merlin, and it's one we've been talking about, I think, for 144 episodes on and off. It is absolutely true that the huge majority of Americans share the same values as conservatives, but the media and the culture, Hollywood, New York, in addition to the Democrats in Washington, have so thoroughly demonized the word conservative and Republican that you'll hear many people say, I believe in these things, but I could never vote for a Republican. I could just never vote for a Republican. Okay, that's the problem, right? We've got a brand problem. We've got a, we're Tylenol. We've got a really good product, and we had somebody, has painted us as, this poison, and now we have to go into the marketing. We have to go into the idea and see. Now, I always thought, this is why I'm not a big fan of the Libertarian Party, only because they can't seem to put up a candidate who's, worth much. I'm sure certainly offending some people out there now. I don't mean to. I'm sure he's a very good guy, Gary Johnson, but on the charisma scale, he's just somewhat less than volcanic. Let's just put it that way. So here's what I was actually thinking about this. I think libertarianism is kind of a shoehorn into conservatism, and if they vote Republican instead of libertarian, then that would be awesome. I was talking to some high school kids last weekend up in Sacramento, and they had 4 parties there as a junior state of America. All these kids want to be politicians and statesmen and all the rest, statespeople. And they had 4 parties. They had the Libertarian Party, Socialist Party, the Republican Party, and the Democratic Party. The Republican guy, nice guy, I'm sure, but he was rather stout and badly dressed, and quite kind of weirdly dressed, I suppose. And he got up on the mic and he started saying things that sounded like he'd taken the text of the Constitution, the Gettysburg Address, the Declaration of Independence, and just shuffled them. so that you keep hearing all these words, you'd hear, we the people, and then you'd hear life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and then we hear, this last full measure, and it was basically like cutting and pasting all of this stuff from 150 years ago. And I thought, man, if I was a local Democratic Party guy, that's who I would cast, and that's exactly the script I would give them. So that wasn't as effective as I would have liked. Speaking of which, I will lose it if I don't show it right now. Here's my awesome t-shirt. I got a bunch of cool t-shirts, mostly from Ranger Up. Those guys are amazing. If you've never been to rangerup.com, the graphic design for those things are tremendous, and they're very, very, very patriotic. So check this out. This might be... That's my Gadsden flag, stripy Gadsden flag, don't tread on me kind of thing. So just since I like this kind of thing, I think if we were going to do don't tread on me, I would take a very stylized picture of a cobra. I mean a real stylized picture. And then below that I put watch out, or watch it, or something like that. Matter of fact, I am going to, since this show's a catastrophe anyway, got nothing to lose, I am going to go right ahead here and I'm going to see if I can find the kind of artwork that I am talking about. Because it's worth doing. We do the Gadsden flag here, and we wonder why people don't get on board with our swinging campaign. So, we gotta connect to the past without looking like we're old. So let me just, I've got a image house here, and well, I can hopefully talk and chew gum at the same time here. Yes, yeah, that's it. That's pretty close. Yeah, now we're talking. All right, I'll grab one and just bring it up there for you guys. Oh man, some of them are very cool. So if I was doing the Gadsden flag today, I would do. It's not really a cobra, so it's not really fair. Let me just see if I get anything else just leaping up at me. One more page here. But you'll get the idea when I pull this down and show it to you what I think we should be doing. Yeah, I'll go with my first choice. Okay, so. Here's what I think we should be doing. Instead of trying to recite the Gettysburg Address and try to convince people about the whole red, white, and blue thing and Gadsden flags and all the rest, we've got to be ready to make this something relatively modern, something relatively relatable to people. Well, they've got this thing pretty well protected here, but they're not smarter than I am. So here we go. So, so they had this Republican guy, and then they had, I'm going to get this if it kills me. Here it is. If it were me, I would come out with a Gadsden flag that looked kind of like this. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about when we get to messaging that I can relate to. Here it is. Let's just put that baby in there and switch it over. Yeah, that's what I would do. I would do, don't, watch it, or back off, man, or something like that. Because if you do that, you are doing both the things that you want to do. You're connecting to the past, and you can tell the story of the snake and where it came from and all the rest. But you're giving people something that looks like it's modern. I mean, this thing is not. I'm not wearing this ironically, but it's. I'm wearing it as a tradition. So anyway, that was the Republican deal, and was not really great. A libertarian got up there, and for the life of me, I cannot remember what he said. The Democrats had two chairs because there were so many Democrats, and they did a routine where they were going back and forth and making jokes about the other three parties. And it was not what I would call, hey, look who's here, it's my gorgeous fiance. It was not what I would call well-rehearsed. It was just reading a script back and forth. It wasn't funny, and it wasn't well-rehearsed. It was actually pretty painful. And then finally, the socialist guy got up there and said, we believe in free health care and free education, so vote for us. And I got up there and I said, okay, let's just make sure we got all these groups correctly labeled here. Republicans are libertarians who are into aircraft carriers. Libertarians are Republicans that smoke dope. Socialists are people who want stuff for free and demand that it's a human right, so somebody else has to pay for it. And Democrats, what's a Democrat? It's the reverb is back. How can that be? Good Lord. So anyhow, that was the group, and And I was just looking at them, Merlin, and thinking, man, I probably would have had a good career in advertising. I like writing the headlines for Right Angle and all the rest, and I would have been a good copywriter. And I would just like to be given, my head. I don't draw the stuff myself, but I know what would look cool. I think we would just simply kick ass with these kind of things, and it's easy, Merlin, but we don't do it. Because the kind of people that are good at these kind of things are people who live in a half real, half fantasy world, and they tend to vote Democrat. So we do have to rebrand this whole thing. I don't know if it's something that can be done. I don't know if we need to just drop it and come up with a new term. Everybody's saying hi to you, by the way. You see, they're all just saying hi, and looks apparently as celebrities here. They wanted you to help me today because this show, I've done 144 of them, not good, and this is by far the worst show I've ever done technically. I mean, it's just a thumbs up. It's just absolutely appallingly bad today. We started it 3 times and all the rest of it, and I can't make any answers make any sense. It's just a giant wandering tumbleweed of used disk space here. This episode 144. So you get them to climb on board, Merlin, by changing the language, by changing the image, by changing the appeal, all of it. And you've got to find people that do that, which is why we're very grateful for BillWhittle.com members, because we know how to do these things, and we are doing these things. Look at the difference between like even just like Firewalls or even Prager, which I think is doing really good work, and then the We the People videos that we showed last week on the live show. It's a remarkable difference. You put something in black Helvetica on a white background, and kids are gonna read it because it looks like an Apple ad. So that's where we need to go, and we're doing it here. And if you want to be part of the fun, it's 33 cents a day. It's the best money you'll ever spend. Believe me, our members are just off the hook happy, and we're getting more and more of them every day. So please, for your own benefit, don't be the last person on your block who's not a member of BillWhittle.com. It'd be embarrassing for you, and I'd hate to see that. I really would. So let's move on here. Our friend Dave Olson, hurrah for Dave, is back, and he's got a question. He says, speaking of segues, as a proud paying member of BillWhittle.com since the Stratosphere Lounge episode 13, hurrah. I'm heartened to see your message reaching a wider audience. Praise Vectron. Praise Vectron and his Golden Colossus. Just one thing, are the members-only segments of the live show being archived on the site? It's on in the middle of the day, and the Minnesota Highway Patrol frowns upon people watching videos while driving. So glad you asked. The first week of the live show was like, can we get a show on the air? Can we just simply stream it and get it on the air? The second week of the live show was, let's see if we can get the camera angles and replace the webcams with better cameras, and let's see if we can get it more or less on time and add some picture elements. And now, slowly but surely, we're just, improving the production values of that show every day. So the quick answer is yes, it is archived. What we do is we actually stream it out through Wirecast, and it goes to 2 different places simultaneously, 2 different streams. One stream goes directly to Facebook. The other stream goes to what's the word I'm looking for? The other stream goes to an undisclosed location on YouTube, and what that means is that if you're a member at BillWhittle.com, you have access to that link live. It locks out members, but if you're there live, you can just click on it and you get to watch the whole thing in the stream. And the second the recording is over, it's archived on YouTube, and you can watch it as a member anytime. One thing we were talked about just earlier today with some of the marketing people over at Daily Wire are the fact that we really should be, now that we can get the show out, and now that we can, at least, it's like juggling, right? You don't start juggling 65, tennis balls at the same time. I'm having a hard enough time with one. I can probably do 2, but you add one, and you just get a little better, and you add another one, you get a little bit better. That's what we're doing. So we're gonna start doing an audio stream as well, hopefully starting next week, and that will go out free to everybody, and that will be a podcast, and you can listen to it on your drive home, or in your hospital bed while you're recovering from your head injury or whatever else this show is good for. So it will be doing all of those things, and I think, strangely enough, this is it feels like a radio show to me. It's a radio show with with pictures of trained monkey and a flag on his chest. Everybody wants to know why you're not coming on camera, Natasha. Everybody wants to say hi. Come on. Oh, now she's fixing her hair. Here she is. Say hi to the good people.
Hi.
Okay, all satisfied now? There. Thank you, darling. I'll just leave my wallet on the counter. You look gorgeous today. Oh, nice smile. So that's that, and then let's move on. So yes, Dave, it is archived at the members-only site, and it is live at the members-only site. And as I said, we were doing 2 streams. We cut the Facebook stream after a certain period when we go from one segment to the other usually, and then the other stream continues, and there it is. So it is going to come out live for everybody, and you'll be able to hear it and save it and store it. Now come the comments. Now that you've made an appearance, there's like a 15-20 second delay here. So here we go. So moving on. This is actually very, very, very nice to see the Tiemens brothers. I thought that the Tiemens brothers were some sort of artificial intelligence program, or maybe it was Google test, or maybe they were, reptilians, all of this other stuff. But it turns out they're actual brothers, and I hadn't seen them for a while. I hadn't heard the name Tiemens, for a period there. And you see all the high Natashas there, they're all everybody's just waving high. And I missed them. I really did, because I think for a while there, the Tiemens had top-rated 5, 6, 7, 8 questions. And people thought it was the Tiemens show, and it was, because the Tiemens paid me a vast amount of money to not tell them or tell anybody that I work for the Tiemens. So Isaac Tiemens has a question. Is it even possible to still have the American dream without a frontier? If the American dream is that the children do better than their parents once the generations go from manual labor to skilled laborers to professions to lawyers, where do we go from there? Great question. Funny I was talking about that. I have to just answer this. Vidcock asks, Bill, have I watched the Arroyo, Jeremy Boring's movie? Not only did I watch it, Vidcock, I edited it. I did that cut. I saw it a couple hundred times. So that was I edited the Arroyo, all the battle sequences, all that stuff. Jeremy bring the footage back. And that's what I used to do before I did this. So, yes, I have seen the Arroyo. Several thousand times, I would say, by now. And I saw it when it was naked, before all the special effects were put in and all the coloring was done, all the rest of it. I had to flip a couple shots back and forth because the director didn't know about the line, but he knows now, and I thought he did an amazing job. Jeremy did an amazing job with the hatful of money that he had there. I really liked that movie quite a lot. If you don't know what we're talking about, it's a movie called The Arroyo, written, directed by Jeremy Boring, shot in Texas in 2000, and I did the edit on that. I'm very proud of it. So anyway, back to the questions. Do we need a frontier for the American dream? I think we probably do, Isaac, but not for the reasons you listed. The things you were talking about is something I've talked about before, which is this kind of asymptotic problem that our society has. So everybody knows that if you draw an exponential line, as it goes across, it just goes and gets more and more vertical. The further you go in time, the more vertical it goes, and it never ever touches the y-axis. So rapid increase is an exponential graph, and the opposite of that is a asymptotic graph, which starts out growing very high, and as time goes on, it gets flatter and flatter and flatter and flatter and flatter and flatter, and so on. So you can see the Arroyo on iTunes, by the way. I think pretty sure it's on iTunes. So this is the second half of your problem. I'll talk about first. We have, where do you go for a sense of achievement when you are born into a world of 24-hour climate control, 24-hour entertainment, complete access to the internet, Uber, wherever you want to go, transportation's instantaneous. There's 7,000 channels of TV, and you don't even have to watch those anymore. You can make your own television shows for, $50, something like that. You've never been cold, you've never been hungry, you've never been in pain. 1 out of 100 of you might have been in pain for maybe the half hour it took for the ambulance to get there, and get you sedated and and numbed up, and your teeth are more often than not your teeth are fine, and you don't have to live with toothaches and all the rest of this whole thing. So where do you go from there? If you start there, where do you go? Any one of these things would have been miraculous and a tremendous reward for a life well lived 100 years ago. Just if you could say, no, my children have never been cold. They've walked around saying it's freezing in here, but they mean it's 68 degrees, not negative 30. So where do you go? I mean, probably be my grandfather. I think came over from Britain. We'd been coal miners, and then we were factory mill workers, and then we were plumbers, I think, for a couple generations. Then my grandfather came over, and he just shot off to the stratosphere. He was a telephone lineman in 1912, I think that's something in there. That's state-of-the-art stuff, hotel manager, and now internet monkey. So where do you go if you start there? Any one of my ancestors, if they had been given any one of the things that I just talked about, no more toothache pain for you, or no more, you have 24-hour entertainment, or any one of those things would have just been something you just get down on your knees and thank God for. But when you're born with them, it's just doesn't work out that way, and you have, as that asymptote gets higher and higher and higher, you have less and less room for you to feel like you advanced. For example, it was probably my grandfather, it might have been my great-grandfather, but somebody in there lived in a house that didn't have running water. And that meant you had to go outside in the cold with a bucket, and use the pump, and the water that comes out of there is kind of filthy. And all of a sudden, there was a point at some place in my recent ancestors' history, where they one day they were pumping water, and the next day it came out of the wall by magic. And one night they're reading by candles, or trying to see by candles, and everybody's going to bed an hour after sunset, if that. And then the next night their rooms are lit up with electric light. And those things must have been astonishing to them. Astonishing. The first time that they had running water or electricity. I can almost relate to just a tiny little bit of it. I don't mean to equate this with this, because that's serious suffering they were going through. But I was just barely old enough. When I lived in Bermuda, they had 2 channels of TV, and they were on from 11 in the morning to maybe it was 3 in the afternoon until 11 at night, something like that. And they were both black and white stations. And I would visit the States every year to visit my cousins and so on. I went over to my cousins, and they had a color television. And I remember all I wanted to do was just sit there real close, like Homer Simpson close, shadow on the wall, the radiation close, and just stare at a color television. The idea that this thing was transmitting in color just absolutely, excuse me, blew me away. And by the way, we are, kids today, here's another way they're kind of getting ripped off. When color TV was starting, they put color on the screen. You look at the skies in Star Trek, and they're purple or they're green. The uniforms are red, and you just bought a color television. You want your damn money's worth in color. And those early shows, I Dream of Jeannie and all that stuff, are just brilliant colors that they had in there. And I remember the Peacock logo too. The following program is brought to you in living color on NBC. Okay. So I remember the excitement of something, significant increase in some aspect of my life. I remember it was like, oh, look out, color TV. They haven't experienced any of this. They haven't experienced any intellectual discoveries either. My generation, again, incredibly lucky. My generation. Sorry, Tom Bizzle says at least you had an asymptote to live under. I didn't have an asymptote. We lived out in the street. We ate gravel. My grandfather came home and fed us all poison, and we put in 140 hours at the mill every week, and my father would come home and break bottles and thrash us with jagged knives. Kids today, luxury. If you don't know what that is, go look up 4 Yorkshiremen on YouTube when the show is over. So there's this whole asymptotic problem. And then the second thing that's a problem is what you talked about with the frontier. And I think the frontier is a different issue. It's not like you need a frontier for your standard of living to increase. The frontier issue is different. The asymptotic thing is built into prosperity, I suppose. But I think the frontier thing is, in fact, the issue. I'm going to say those two letters again. Here they come. R/K. No, seriously, if you are on a frontier, the definition of a frontier, to me anyways, just off the top of my head, is where civilization meets the wilderness, right? That's the line. And if you're on that line, it's dangerous and risky, and people either haven't done it before or haven't done it well. Nothing's automatic. You're not going down to the 7-Eleven because there is no 7-Eleven. You know, you're learning new things, and one of the things you're learning is how to survive day to day. And no one is smart enough to learn all that. You got to learn from other people's mistakes and how they got killed and all the rest of it. The reason I think the frontier in that regard is important is because the frontier provides you with the kind of challenges to you every day that keeps you smart. I mean, as just as a people, it keeps you smart. We have evidence from how many civilizations? 7, 8, 9, something like that, at least, world-dominating civilizations that show that when they got to the height of their powers, the maximum amount of luxury, maximum amount of military influence, the most trade, all of it. When they're at the top of their game, the thing collapses. And I think it collapses from too much leisure. It's too much ease. It's too easy. And the thing that's remarkable to me about people who I know who lived through the Second World War, for example, my mom not only lived through the Second World War, many of our parents did, but my mom was in London, so they were dropping bombs on her. And she remembers the Blitz. She would have been 9, 10 years old, I guess. And she remembers seeing Winston Churchill on a pile of rubble and all the rest. But the point is that those times of maximum hardship were pretty much universally remembered as the best times of their lives. Doesn't seem like it would make sense, does it? But it's true. Everybody was pulling together. Everybody knew that there was, everybody had skin in the game. Everybody knew that this wasn't a joke. People that they knew were being killed, they knew they could be the next one to be killed that day, that hour, that minute, who knows. She told me about remembering the V1 bombs, the buzz bombs. I think they called them doodle bugs on the streets of London. The buzz bomb was a first guided missile, really, and it's got a little interesting jet engine, a stutter jet engine, and they'd fly it over London. There's accuracy, as you're lucky if you got it over London. But I remember my mom saying you'd hear them go over, and she said as long as you could hear them, you're fine. But if they got quiet all of a sudden, you better run, because that's it. When they run them out of fuel, down they go, and this gigantic warhead blows up. So things like that, and you would think those are the kind of things that you wouldn't want to remember, or that would be just so horrible. It's not true. They were the best times of their lives. Good night, Johnny Quest, and may Vectron wrap you in his satiny wings. So this is the problem. The problem with a lack of frontier is a lack of hardship. It's a lack of challenge. It just gets soft mentally, physically. It just gets soft. You can only eat so many donuts, and that's the problem. So how do we get that back? I don't know. I will tell you one thing though. Watching what's happening to this country, if there was a space program, colonization program, I would go. Absolutely. Well, I would have gone before I got engaged. But yeah, because the frontier to me is not so much a location as it's a state of mind. I think that's why I like flying so much. I think I like flying so much just because it's almost like a self-selected frontier. You've got competent people and very, very few jerks, because they don't survive long enough. They either get written up by the FAA and lose their license, or they lose their license and their driver's license and every other thing they got in their credit card. They do something stupid and then they go. So when I'm flying, I am surrounded by competent people, and I'm surrounded by people who take safety very seriously and take all of this very seriously. And it's not that it's not fun, it's a lot of fun, but it's so respectful and it's so professional, and it gives me a couple hours of thinking what it would be like to live in a world where just about everybody was well educated, relatively well off, and doing something difficult, doing it well. It's a culture, and it's a tremendous culture, and so the frontier can be that kind of thing. But on average, Isaac, you're absolutely right. It's America. America needs a frontier because that's what we're good at. We're good at exploration. We're good at settlement. Especially good at what used to be called Yankee ingenuity, the ability to make something on the site that did what you needed to do, that invent something and just string it together with wagon wheels and duct tape. So that was what we're good at, and it's what we want. It's certainly what I want, and I think there's something from people that have self-selected themselves. That's what we did. Everybody's here for one reason or another, for some generation back or another. Everybody's here because they were the kind of people that just weren't tired of taking all the crap back home. They're risk takers. It's in our genes, and it's not a joke either. They found it's on the seventh allele or whatever it is, particular gene. However, there is a risk-taking gene, and we're full of it because we're descended from people who selected out for adventure and risk-taking and courage and intelligence. And those of us who didn't have those four things are not with us anymore, and they're not passing down children either. So, yeah, we're like a it's kind of like a polar bear in a zoo, And they paint the walls white and try to make us think we're back at the North Pole, but we're not. And we want to be. We want to be challenged. We want to have some sense of pride in what we did that day, and so, yeah. We got one to go. This is from some guy named Reuben Tiemens, and yet another one of this insect hive mind types that are, infesting the internet these days. Reuben Tiemens, probably no relation to Isaac Tiemens. It'd be just too much of a coincidence to think that they were both, brothers or something. Here's what he wants to know. His last question for the night. And he says, has the media become so unhinged that they're no longer capable of even holding a Republican president accountable? They've been crying wolf ever since November 9th, and if there's ever an actual wolf, the chances of people actually listening to them seem to be slim. Yes. Hooray. Hooray. Yes, they are losing their minds. Yes, they know that what little credibility they had left, they spent on dragging that carcass of Hillary Clinton over the line, and they didn't do it. And they rolled all the dice on this, and they were sure they're going to come up a winner, but they lost. These are the people who are used to influencing our society. These news media people don't like being dismissed. The pecking order of the press briefings, which I'd never heard about before, but apparently the president is, not legally obviously, but through tradition, he's sent the first question to A&P, Associated Press, and then they work their way down the hierarchy of priests and nobility, and then Donald Trump's first press conference, he starts off with either, I don't know who he talked to first. Was it, maybe it was a Spanish language TV thing or some newspaper from, Des Moines. And it really made him angry. And it made me delighted because they were so angry. This whole thing is smashing everything. And one of the questions I think maybe I just didn't take or thought I was going to take, but with Trump and all of these things he says and peccadillos and this accusation he lied about this tax returns, blah 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 blah. Trump has I don't know if he does this on purpose. I don't know whether he's if he does, then he is in fact a political super genius. I suspect he doesn't do it on purpose. But what's interesting about Trump is, and related to your question there, Ruben, is that Donald Trump has reached saturation. He's reached saturation. There's nothing that he could do or say that would change people's opinion of him for the worse. Nothing. He's already done so many things that are just, so repellent to so many people that if you're still on board with Donald Trump now, there's nothing that he could do, except maybe not pass Obamacare, but he certainly seems to be wailing away on all this other stuff. So he's reached saturation, and that means he's immune. They can't throw mud at anybody. They can't throw mud at people who are covered in mud. It just, you throw mud against a bride or something, you're going to make an impression. You throw mud against somebody who's wearing white, you'll make an impression. But if you throw mud against somebody who's covered in mud, who gives a damn? And that's pretty much where Trump is, I think. He is saturated, and he knows it. And a lot of people are speculating that many of these tweets and things he says are designed specifically to provoke the press, to provoke them. And you kind of want to think, well, nobody's really that smart. But then again, Donald Trump, a year ago was standing on stage with 15 other Republicans, all of whom had remarkable credentials, and now he's not only the Republican nominee, he's the president of the United States. It seems a bit too much to believe than coincidence, right? So if he is in fact trolling the press and saying things that he knows that they have to respond to, because it just drives him crazy that somebody could be this stupid and this boorish and this rude and this vulgar, so he drops these things and these people go at him. And then they start calling him, all the names and all the Hitler and all the Nazi stuff comes out, and it's kind of like, okay, all right, not just with him. Peak Stoutcat says maybe we're at peak Trump. Well, if we are, we're going to be at peak Trump for 4 years. I suspect, and probably 8. It's a brilliant thing, really. It's not a pretty thing, and it's not an elegant thing, but it is brilliant to be so. To have your reputation be so low that you really have nowhere to go. What are they going to do? They're going to call him a racist? What a shock that would be. Are they going to say he's misogynistic? Imagine the people that would faint if a new report of that came up, He's immune. He's immune. He's weathered the worst of it. And the thing I think that the left is not willing to look at, mostly, because if they did, they'd realize their own folly. People in the news media especially, they want to believe that the people that voted for Trump are idiots and racists. Because if they are idiots and racists, then they are better, the media people are better than those idiots out in flyover country. Idiots out there, who are racist idiots who elected this madman. And that's what they're going to stick to, because if they don't, they're gonna lose their minds. But that's not what's going on here. I don't know. I might know 2 or 3 people who are like, Trump is the greatest. But most of the people I know have various degrees of, we're gonna roll the dice with this guy, and if he smashes things up the way he says he's going to, then that will be the best of the worst case scenarios. When your news media just lies to your face and pretends that they're giving you objective news, then if you keep running a fair game like with Mitt Romney and stuff, and they keep demonizing him, then you need a guy who's going to smash up the machine. And so the thing that the left doesn't really want to look at is that we know that he's vulgar. We know. Yeah, that's right. Claudia Strange from Florida says, and Coulter said it best, logical people take him figuratively, and figurative people take him literally. So we all know that a lot of this is show, and we also know that a lot of it's not show. We know that there's a lot about this guy that, maybe you wouldn't want your daughter marrying, or whatever the case may be, but it's okay. It doesn't matter. I'm not hiring him. He's not running for Pope, He's not running for Pope. He's going in there and smashing things up. And oh man, I got a little crack in my throat here. Hang on a second. Man, that hit me hard. Must be all of the damn talking I'm doing. Yeah, he's just going in there and smashing things up, and that's what we paid him to do. And I don't know how he could be doing more of it. He's just been, in 2 weeks, he's done more work than Barack Obama's done in 8 years. Actual work. I'm not just talking about social change. I'm talking about hours at the desk. I'll bet you in 2 weeks, Donald Trump put in more hours than Barack Obama did during a term at the desk, actually working, not just chatting on the phone. So, yeah. So, they don't have any credibility anymore. Now, here's the thing, Ruben. This would be a catastrophe if it weren't for the internet. Because I suspect that the only thing worse than a biased press is no press at all. Yeah, I guess having no press at all is better than having this kind of biased press, but fortunately we don't have to worry about that anymore. Donald Trump is president of the United States for many reasons, but one of the main reasons he's president is because of the internet. If everybody got their opinion of Donald Trump through CNN, it would have been over a long time ago. If everybody got an honest appraisal of Hillary Clinton on CNN, that would have been over a long time ago. So it's the internet that really got him elected. And it's the internet that's allowed people to see the detail, those that are willing to look for it, and I mean a very simple look for it. You know, those of us that dug into Hillary's background and didn't have to dig too deep were just mortified, and the press didn't report it, but the news got out because there's this internet. And it's kind of a democratic thing in a way, that internet, it rewards those people who are willing to do a little extra work and go looking for things. It's like a giant box of everything, and if you want to poke around in there, you'll find some interesting stuff, and if you don't, then you won't. So not only do I think it's a good thing that the media has lost all its credibility, I think it's an essential thing. They were, in fact, the problem. If there'd been a press, there never would have been a Barack Obama. Never. If they'd investigated him 1/20th as much as they investigated Sarah Palin, they never would have heard of him. But they didn't, and so he became president, and we've got this giant hole in our history of 8 years that nothing happened, except things got worse out there. So now we're trying to shovel fast and fill that gap as quickly as we can. And I think he's doing a really good job of it. I think all of these picks are really first-rate picks, terrific picks. Defense and education off the hook, and also the Supreme Court judge, terrific. You know, he still says a few things that don't appeal to conservatives, philosophy, but what he's doing is just dandy, and he's doing it fast, and he's doing it all across the board. He's a remarkable man, and I suspect that Donald Trump has made a career in billions of dollars off of being underestimated. I suspect that he knows the power of being underestimated. I think really clever politicians, egoless politicians. Strange thing to say about Donald Trump, but I think the ability to be willing to look stupider than you are. Most people are not willing to do that. Most people are not willing to look as smart as they are. Most people do everything they can to try and look smarter than they are. But if you are willing to look stupider than you really are in order to get what you want, that's a high level of mastery of whatever you're doing, a high level of mastery of economics or politics or whatever. We're going to find out. But again, it's an awful lot of coincidence, isn't it? You know, for him to beat all 16 of these guys, then win the nomination, then win the election, and in the first 2 weeks just be knocking all these things out of the park. It seems a bit much for randomness. Well, he just got lucky, or this broke his way. It seems like he's got a plan somehow, and his plan is working. I wish Andrew Breitbart were back here. Breitbart, as many people like to point out, was not a Trump supporter, but Breitbart understood the intersection between the media and the American people better than anybody I ever met, and I think Breitbart would have been very impressed by Trump's strategy of simply. See, Trump goes further than not caring. It's not that Trump doesn't care. I don't think George Bush cared, frankly. They told a lot of lies about George Bush, and I think George Bush basically said, "I don't care. It's okay. It's a free country, can say what they want to." And so these lies built up until they became, the truth. Bush lied, people died. He could have arrested this early, but he didn't, because he didn't care. Trump is beyond not caring. Trump is understanding the power of being underestimated and the power of saturation. He's actually using judo on these people. It's such a big, powerful force, this media. You can't just go up there and slug it out with the mainstream media. You got to use their heaviness and their momentum and their bulk against them. He gets them riled up. They start running right at him. He just steps off to the side and boom, off they go. And it's really fun to watch. It's genius. He trolls me sometimes. It says things that I just go, oh, come on. And then I realize, this is it. This is what the guy's doing. He's a wrecking ball. He's a sledgehammer, and I am very happy with him. When I look at these student protests, and when I look at mostly the professors, these screaming professors talking about, they're literally screaming at these protests like their children are being taken away in front of their eyes. That's and I think, man, if we'd had four more years of this, I don't know. Every day that goes by, the situation with these young people gets worse and worse and worse, and another 4 years would have been not just starting 4 years later than we're starting. It just would have been so hard, so much harder to turn people around after that level of indoctrination and intimidation, I might add, using the IRS and the NSA and all the rest of these agencies against the American people has an effect. And so there you go. Well, I would like to close the worst episode ever done of the Stratosphere Lounge. I just barely was able to withhold just reaching up and clicking the button in mid-sentence. That's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to, and then, but that's just me. Yeah, well, anyway, we'll do episode 145, and the great thing about that is it gives us something to look forward to. Talking about saturation, the technical prowess of the Stratosphere Lounge has long ago reached saturation. It's the worst produced show on the internet. What are you going to do after that, right? I mean, I can just not show up. I mean, I just turn the cameras on and not have anybody be here. It'd still be the worst produced show on the internet. It's like the guy who comes in last at the Olympics, trains and trains and trains and trains for 4 years, 10 hours a day for 365 days out of the year, comes in last in the Olympics, and he would have come in last if he just sat around, drank coffee, and eaten donuts. So there you go. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up here. It's not too bad. It was fleeting hour and 24 minutes. I think we're going to leave it there. I got some work to do. Imagine my surprise. Love to see you out there for the live show. And I know a couple people were worried that the live show was going to be the Stratosphere Lounge. It's not. There's nothing like the Stratosphere Lounge. It's I've not seen anything like it ever, really. I've not seen anybody who's public figure just sit down and talk to people the way that we do and have done for years and years and years now. Yeah, that'll do it for episode 144. We come back for 145, and then not too far distant future, a couple of months from now, we'll be at 150. It seemed like episode 100 was just seems like yesterday. Oh, by the way, I don't want to get people too excited about this, but we've got some room in here, and I'm thinking that the morning show would be more fun if we did it live with an audience, live to tape kind of thing. So hopefully we'll be able to open up the doors to Strata Loungers and especially members. And don't forget your Stratosphere Lounge mugs, which many of you have already gotten out and purchased. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. They're very cool mugs. And I love the idea of autographing the bottom of them for you. So until next time, fellow travelers and patriots everywhere, and all the rest of you wonderful people, I am just gonna say good night. I'm not gonna say good riddance because that seems cheap, but I am gonna say good night. And the second I can get this bloody thing, it's just a living catastrophe. You'll see what I mean when you see what I mean. I'm not even going to do this yet. I'm gonna just end the feed here, and then you'll see why I had to end the feed. So, good night, good luck, and we'll see you next week. And we're out of here.